Tim Rogers reporting to the Farm News Media team, and today I'm with Clint Hagen, north of Ubly. I appreciate you letting me ride along here during Hemp Harvest.
Yes.
So Clint, tell us a little bit about why you guys got in the hemp business.
Well, the hemp business, we looking at the commodities and what our potential was for this year's crop, and weren't really liking what we were seeing, whether it be our dry beans, our white wheat, or our sugar beets. It's been struggling the last few years with all of them, and pricing wasn't very encouraging. So we felt as though if there was ever a time to take a chance on a crop, this was the year. We really didn't stand a chance of losing much per acre, in the fact that we weren't going to the field to know that we're going to profit $100 an acre on our white wheat or our navy beans. So we figured, let's take a chance on some of this hemp. We knew it was new to the area. We were always up for a challenge. So it was a significant investment. You know, I shouldn't say that we're going out to not lose money or anything like that, but it's been a challenge. It's definitely something different, and like nothing else we've ever grown. Totally different set of challenges.
So how many acres of hemp do you have?
340.
You know, at what point did you guys start looking at or considering planting hemp?
Well, it was on our radar already last fall, probably in the October, November timeline. Don't remember specifically. We were a little bit of rumblings about it during last harvest already, and really got serious about it after the first of the year. I guess December actually, and because it was time to start committing at that point already. If you wanted to have a dryer, it was time to commit to that dryer, put a down payment on it, make sure you had it in time. It was time to start researching where you're going to get your seed from, all that type of stuff. We knew we needed a planter specific for our crop.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
You can't use a traditional planter?
It's possible, but there's better planters out there on the market for it. Our row width was different. We did a 40-inch wide row as opposed to a 20, because our populations are so low, and this stuff needs some room to grow besides. So the 40-inch row was a bigger deal for us.
Okay.
So we went with a monosem planter. Monosem's just been known for their
specialty planters.
Yeah, they're just specialized. They're meticulous. They're very precise, and we knew we needed that. So what was that?
So is the seed pretty small, or what's the seed?
Seed's very small. It's I always compare it to a radish seed, but not too many people familiar with a radish seed either. So yeah, it's very tiny, much smaller than a sugar beet seed yet. It's not very uniform in shape either, so that presents another set of challenges. So monosem they've planted this stuff in other parts of the country before, plenty of it, so they're familiar with it. They knew what to do with it. Specialized plates for the planter, specialized air system on the planter, so they knew how to set it up, and it was a good investment. We dumped the seed in, made a few little calibrations, tweaked it a little bit, and it just planted. Had no problems with it.
And I know you said this a minute ago, what's the population that you plant at?
We planted 7,000 plants to the acre this year, which is thick for the industry. Very thick. The average, I would say, out there is probably in the 1,500 to 2,500 range. Okay. So, but you also have to remember, we're going on scale, so we're trying to do this over a couple hundred acres, where commonly this is a 10-acre venture for people. So it's a hand manicured, hand harvested, everything by hand. So they need room around those plants to be able to manicure them and trim them and do everything they want to do. So they need the area around the plant to do that. That's why they're planted thinner like that.
And so you guys are really trying to do this a little bit larger scale.
Yes.
Any challenges to that? I mean, have you learned anything, or?
Well, yeah. Everything we've done with it so far has presented a different set of challenges. The planting was probably the simplest part, but then everything you do after that just seemed like you had an idea in your head and how you're going to do it. And for the most part, that worked okay. But then there was maybe two or three other things after that needed to be done. So, when we finally landed on this chopper and the stripping head idea, that all worked great. So other than parts of the head itself needed to be replaced, the factory stuff wasn't going to hold up. It was never going to last. So then you figured that out. Well, then you started taking some of that product to the dryer, and you realize the dryer is now plugging because there's too much fiber in it, or too many chunks of stem, or something to that effect. Well, we set up a system at our farm and gutted out one of our sheds, took all the equipment out and started put a couple of topsoil screeners in there to start trommeling the fiber and the stems out to get our product cleaner. Everything you do, there's just one more step that you probably needed to take, and it takes a little bit to figure that out, and then you got to react to it kind of on the fly. And you know, now you already started harvest, so now it needs to happen really quick.
Has there been a point in the process so far where you're like, man, this is crazy, why are we doing this?
Oh, plenty of times. Yeah, absolutely. You know, probably started when we started you know, the weeding and stuff like that. That wasn't too bad. I was kind of shocked. We did get at one point, well, not at one point, but I had 52 different high school aged kids from around the area that actually come out and hoed weeds for us. So that was fantastic to see. Had 41 or 42 in the field at one time. So that was, I wish I'd have got some drone footage of that, because that was really neat to see that many kids out there working.
I gotta ask, did you ever hoe sugar beets?
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I mean, for some of these high school kids nowadays that don't hoe beets anymore, that was probably a good experience.
It was a great experience, you know. And I was a little bit nervous of asking in the first place, but I went to our local school, Ubly school district, to our ag advisor, Melissa Kramer, and told her what I was doing, and said, you know, can you reach out to your students and let them know that I'm looking for helpers? And so she sent a mass email out to every one of her students, and I told her, I said, now it's, you know, it's a hemp crop. We're not hoeing sugar beets, we're hoeing hemp. So if any parents have any concerns with this, here's my number, make sure they call, you know. So, and I had a few call, not many were concerned, but I did talk with some parents, and they were more than excited to have their kids come out and do something with it. So the longer that went on through the summer, they must have hoed for 2 months, hoeing weeds. Wow. So just on and off, I just let them come and go as they pleased. You know, never my son Dylan actually ran the crew, so he kind of set the hours. They'd hoe in the morning from 7 to 12, and then it got pretty hot quite a bit this summer, so they'd quit. They'd go back from 5 to 8 in the evenings for anybody that could make it. He might have 12 people show up, he might have 35, you know, but they just, when they showed up, that was their hours, and they worked. And I had so many parents thank us for that project this summer and giving their kids a job. And yep. So that part was great. But, you know, back to your question of, you know, did we ever think, what in the world are we doing? Yeah, it was probably about the time the kids were kind of done, school was starting, and that's when we talked before about hermaphroditing in these plants, you know, roguing for males, and then the females that hermaphrodite and throw the male parts out. When it was time to start scouting for that, and we had migrant labor come in to do that, and, you know, going through that dry spell, which made them hermaphrodite worse, and all these plants are starting to come out of the field, and we're, you know, having to throw them away, and these things are junk, and it's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I mean, the amount of manpower, labor, hours that have gone into this crop. I keep telling people we've got 3,500 acres of beets. We've got as many hours spent on this 340 acres of hemp. This is it's just crazy the amount of manpower this takes. So that in itself makes you wonder, why in the world are we doing this? We started with the kids, but at that point, you know, we knew we could get the weeds probably under control, because in a 40-inch row we could do a lot of cultivating and throwing a lot of dirt, and, you know, we could kind of hold the weeds back for a while. So we knew the kids could kind of hold that off for us. So and that gave us time to kind of look for migrant labor help and try and seek out some good help with people that we could trust and confident in, and did some background work on it. And we found some great crews that they were fantastic. They were great people, never caused any problems in the community, just really good, outstanding people, and they did a phenomenal job out in the field. And so we were very fortunate to have them. Otherwise, I don't think we could have pulled this off.
That's awesome. So disease-wise or insect pressure, anything like that you had to deal with? You
know, we had all kinds of people telling us all kinds of different things. So this field in particular, where we were looking there, where this drainage ditch is, there's a mite that'll come into this and kind of curl the leaves up. And we had some guys out that actually told us, boy, you got to get those plants out of here, bag them up, it'll destroy the whole crop. Well, that goes back to what we were telling you before. You can trust one in about 10 people who you're talking to. You know, I think they just wanted us to destroy our crop so we didn't, you know, flood the market, compete with their stuff. Because from here, I can look back in and I can tell the difference on how far it went in. It went in about 20 feet with these mites, and that's all that's in there. after that. You know, you got to remember, and maybe they had the best of intentions, but these are people that are typically growing 1,000 acres or 1,000 plants, 1,500 plants total, and worried about every last single plant that they've got. They have to be. So on our scale, when we've got 7,000 to the acre, we can't worry about every single plant. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to save every one of them and have every one of them perfect and a perfect stand, and maybe transplant some in those holes where maybe that one didn't come up. You can't do that. No, you would never do that with your sugar beet crop. You'd never do that with anything else. It's we have to keep reminding ourselves this is on a scale. We can't try and get the every last bud off when we're harvesting. We can't focus on that. We have to focus on the material that we can get. We got to focus on getting it in a timely manner, and we got to make sure that we get it dried. Because Michigan weather, I mean, we know what's coming. Eventually, we're going to get a wet, heavy snow, and that's not going to be good for this stuff. It's gonna level it.
So when did you start harvesting?
We started, well, officially we started back in September. We had a variety that was a very early maturing variety, and that was all hand harvest, which that was just small acres. That's only like 20 acres, and planted it on purpose, knowing that we could use that as a kind of a guide for the rest of the season. We could get that stuff off. We could test our dryer. And that taught us a lot. We knew our dryer was not working the way it was supposed to work. We knew we had too much debris in the sample for our biomass, so that's what led us to the cleaning, the screening. Gave us a little bit of a heads up as to what to expect when we did get to the big harvest. We were ready for that stuff.
Okay.
So that started then. This harvest with the big plants, with the big acres, this basically started last Tuesday, and we did do a 48-hour run a week prior to that with the second drying facility that we've got online. They wanted to test it out and see what it would all be about, make sure that they had everything on their end ready to go. So they did a 48-hour run with us, prove they could do it, because the drying portion of it is kind of meticulous. You can heat it too much and burn the oil out. So they wanted to make sure on their end that they could do what they needed to do and not cost us our product. So it was good of them. They did a 48-hour run. We did it. It was successful. They had to shut down and go back to the other things they were drying and get it finished. We shut down and kind of got things ready to go on our end to make sure we were ready for the following week when they were ready, because they dry 24/7. And so last Tuesday, we dumped our first load of the official big harvest, and we've been going 24/7 ever since. The chopper itself is just a common silage chopper, haylage chopper. There's nothing special about it. But then the head is actually, this model is made for rice. Okay. It basically all it's doing, it's called a stripper head. It's got fingers on it that rotate on a drum real fast, and it would pluck a rice head off of a stem, is all it does. Okay. Typically it mounts on the front of a combine. So that's how they harvest grain in certain parts of the country. So there's been several of these across the country that have been used for this purpose. So
where'd you guys find this head?
This one, I believe, was out of Alabama or Arkansas, somewhere down south. Come out of rice country down there. Like I said, we're doing 2 passes on the same row. You got to go from one direction, turn around, come back, because the plants are so big and bushy and wide. You want to make sure you hit both sides of it. So it slows the harvest down a little bit. And the second pass, you definitely get some bud, but you also get more of the stemmy, fibrous material that needs to be trommeled out, screened out. But we just try not to leave any more in the field than we have to. I mean, we grew it all year. You might as well take it home. There's nothing mechanically built right now specific for a CBD hemp plant. We actually tried to build one of our own, and I think we got a long ways on it. But we're doing a great job. We can strip the plant way better than what this is doing. We can get close to 100% of that material off the plant and just have a skeleton of a plant standing there. We can do that with ease. It's collecting all that material and then doing something with it that we're struggling with. The way the stripping mechanism is designed, we're having a hard time collecting it.
So 300 and how many?
40.
340 acres. How many total days of harvest will it be, you think?
12.
Okay.
Right in that range. It's about a 25 acre a day be pretty close to that on an average.
So you got yourself running the chopper, and you got one guy trucking. Is that what you're pretty much?
Yeah, myself. I chop. I've got another guy running the dump cart in the field with me. Just the two of us do all the harvesting in the field. If we got enough people around, they'll shuttle trucks back and forth for us. If we don't, then we'll fill our 2 trucks. Each one of us will jump in a truck, take it back, and unload them at the farm at the cleaner, and then bring them back, load them up again. And we can chop a lot more than what we can clean, but as they're cleaning, they also have to remove the debris. So I've got a guy doing that. There's a guy feeding the cleaners, and then there's another guy there that's either hauling a clean load to the dryer, or he would be the guy that would shuttle trucks if he's available.
So you're dumping back at the home farm,
right?
And they're putting it into a shed. And
yes.
Then you're screening it through like a topsoil.
Like
screener.
A topsoil screener, like a
Yep.
big drum style
Yep.
screener. There's 2 of them in there,
and then you're reloading it into semi.
Reloading it into semis that would either haul to our dryer in Sebring or the one in Akron.
And then when it gets to the dryer, what happens?
They'll put it through the drying facility. At the end of the dryer, they're bagging it into tote bags, like a typical...
Like seed tote?
Like a seed tote, but 7 foot tall, a lot taller, just a super sized one of those. They can get about 1,500 pounds of dry product in one of those totes.
Okay.
So we're trying to get as much product into one tote as we can, because you just don't know where this stuff might end up at a processor to get turned into a crude or a distillate or whatever the final product ends up being, whatever, basically whatever we want it to be. But a lot of those are out of state.
Now, what point does that product, what point of the product do you sell? Do you sell it after it leaves the dryer, or do you still own it after?
We still own it after it leaves the dryer. So the biomass is what they're going to call that. We still own that. And right now, the plan going into the system here was we're going to sell the biomass. Just dry it, bag it up, sell it to somebody. But now we've shifted gears, and we're taking that biomass and taking it to a processor that will turn it into that crude product, or another step beyond that is called a distillate. And that in return, all these businesses, rather than writing them a check to do that, they keep part of your product. So they'll refine it down, they'll keep whatever the percentage might be and give us our percentage, and then that's what we are going to sell.
Okay.
Is when that product comes back, we have buyers in line that have said that they want this stuff, and that's what we're going to sell.
Okay. So is there currently a market shortage on biomass?
No, not biomass. There's a bottleneck there. The biomass has flooded the market. There's not enough processors to process the biomass. There's a shortage on the CBD end, and there's a like I said, it's the bottleneck. The processor's the bottleneck. There's not enough to do it. We got all kinds of biomass and not near enough CBD. So the problem is we can't process it fast enough.
Okay.
So that's kind of the hiccup right now, because everybody that's growing hemp, not everybody's processing themselves. So you have to rely on others.
You guys aren't processing.
We are not.
Okay.
No, we should be. We should be. There's definitely a need for it, and that'll expand a lot by next year. I'm sure it will. Will it meet the demand of the acres that are going to increase? I don't know.
How far can you truck it? Would it be unforeseeable to take a biomass grown in Michigan, and truck it out to Colorado or to the other states where they have it?
It's possible. Yeah, where the processes are developed and there's more of them. Absolutely, it's possible. The alternative to that is maybe sitting on it for 6 months or something to that effect until there's really not that many processors in Michigan either, and the ones that are here are small scale. Nobody's on a big commercial scale. So, there's a couple in Indiana, there's some in Kentucky. We found all kinds of them, but they're also processing for a lot of different people, and their capacity isn't huge by any means. So when you're taking, hundreds of thousands of pounds of biomass like we have and trying to find processors for it, they're also used to the scale of the 10-acre grower that maybe has 30,000 pounds of biomass. So they'll take his stuff and they can process that in probably 4 or 5 days. But, now you take 1 million pounds of biomass, and try and find somebody to do that. That's a whole different scale. So either you take it and you trickle it into several different processors and try and, you know, use it up a little bit quicker at a lot of different places, or you sit on it and wait till somebody kind of gets done with everybody and then now they want it all. But there's also a storage concern then, because it will mold in the bag if it's not temperature controlled and humidity controlled. Huh. So that concern's out there too.
So just to go back real quick here, so the part of the plant that you guys are using that is it's that flower part, right?
Yes.
So the very top, what's that called?
Flower bud. I mean, everybody calls it a little something different, I guess. But it's, yes, the main part is the top, but it's also, every one of them down on the lower branches also has oil in it, if you can get them. It's, like I said, that's the purest form is at the top. That's the oldest part of the plant, so it's the most mature. Okay. The lower you get, the less mature it is.
So the stalk of the plant's not being used?
No, it's pretty well useless right now. I mean, that's where the fiber is. Everybody talks about the fiber, but there's just nothing in Michigan for the fiber that we're aware of right now. Plus, it's wet here in Michigan, so, you know, if it was going to be utilized, it'd have to be dried. So there's a whole other process there. And until somebody comes into the state, I think, that really wants that and has a use for it, right now it's just going to get shredded and put back into the ground. That's about all we can do with it.
Okay. Yeah. Can you get high from being around this stuff?
No, not even close. No, the content on this that we have to stay below is 0.3%. So actually, Senator Lowers was out here a couple weeks ago, and he was schooling us a little bit on what a marijuana crop is compared to a hemp crop, and basically they're looking for like a mid 20% THC, where we're 0.3. So I mean, to that effect, you'd have to smoke an acre of this stuff before you'd feel any of that, and I think that would make you way sicker than it's going to make you high. So no, there's no chance of getting high off of this crop.
But it smells. I mean,
very much so.
When I walked up to your brother Keith there at the farm, I mean, you can definitely smell this stuff. This stuff smells like marijuana.
Yes, it does.
Do you guys get any funny looks at the grocery stores?
Well, you know, no, not really. But, you know, maybe they are, and I'm just not catching it because we're used to it. And, you know I probably got it on my clothes. And, you know, I'll maybe stop into the school to pick the kids up, and maybe the faculty is looking at me kind of strange. I don't know. But, you know, it's a small community. Everybody knows we got it. So, you know, everybody knows what's going on, you know, and we were worried about it, you know, with the
perception, right?
We call it fragrance, not odor. So the fragrance in the area is
maybe you should start up your own perfume line, right? The Hagen perfume.
We're just worried about the neighbors, you know. We don't want to be bad neighbors and make everybody stink, and you know. But you know, I did have a neighbor that said he thought you know, he could notice it quite noticeable, I guess, around his place. But then he said the wheat came off and the dairy manure started getting hauled and stuff like that started happening. And he said all at once it didn't smell that bad anymore. So
I definitely rather smell this than the manure.
Yeah, it's not I mean, when you get right into the field and you start chopping it, you definitely get a lot more aroma to it. But, you know, driving by it, you can smell it on the way by. You can smell it a mile away on the right days. But it's not an irritating odor by any means. That, you know, we got a year under our belt. I think we gained a lot of stuff. We got a lot of changes to make for next year. We got a lot of plans that'll be drastically different than what we're doing now. So, you know, we just need to get a year under our belt. I'd never even seen a hemp plant prior to this year. So I had no ideas for expectations whatsoever going into this thing. So yeah, we're kind of excited about the next year and what it might have to offer. But I keep telling everybody until I get a check for some of the stuff from this year, I'm not too worried about next year yet.
Exactly.
It might not even be here. So, yeah.
Well, Clint, thanks for letting me ride along today. This has been another episode of the Farm Use Cab Cam. Until next time, we'll see you down the road.